If you want to know what Lincoln scent varieties to look for from 1960 to 1969, then you need to watch this video. We're going to cover each date, each mint mark, double die averse, double die reverse, and the RPMs, which is a repunch mint marks for each date and mint. That applies. I pick the most valuable when I can. Most of these are not that valuable. I'm not covering every one of them. Okay, there are multiple RPMs and double dies for a lot of these dates and mints. So that's something you need to do, is go back to coppercoins.com and go through the listings, do the die variety search, which I'll show you how to do here in a minute. Also, Wexler's Double Dies. That's another good site. And then Konica Variety Vista is another one. So those three sites, you should be able to find about anything you want to find that's worth something or worth looking for. Now, not all of these are very valuable. Okay, we're going to go through these. Some of them aren't. Some of them do have a good premium. Now, remember this too, is that every variety has mid-stage, late stage, early die stage, and then there's different states. Okay, and what's important is sometimes that makes a difference in the die marks, but the coin must match the images if you're looking for the exact coin. So you've got to find the image that matches. You can't have the die marks and then not have a double feature on your coin, okay, where it's supposed to be. It has to be a double die too as well. So with that in mind, let's cover a couple definitions here for the acronyms. A DDO is a double die verse, a DDR is a double die reverse, and an RPM is a repunch mint mark. Repunch mint marks are mint marks that were repunched into the die before it struck the coin. Okay, so they used to do that up until 1989. A mint employee would put the mint mark on the die. So you don't see a double mint mark. You can see an RPM, but not a double die mint mark. Okay, I want to make that and clarify that. So with that, let's get to looking at some of these images, and we'll talk about the die marks to look for. Okay, this is coppercoins.com. Chuck, he has Coin Nights live auctions. Check him out, his YouTube channel. I'm going to Copper Coins. He has listings on eBay. Very honest, a knowledgeable man. Really contributed to the hobby. Well known. I do recommend Copper Coins on YouTube. And when you do a die variety search, what you want to do is you want to come over here and you're typing in coppercoins.com, come to die variety search, you want to click it. Right here you put your date in and come down here and hit submit search. Then you can go through all the listings. So what I want to show you here is I did a search for 1960, and when you come down through here you're going to see it starts off with the D and then with the P, and then if there's an S, there's an S. If it's not listed here, sometimes you can go to Wexler's or Konica and you can find it. But most of them that are worth money are going to be listed here. And a lot of the real common ones that are not worth a lot of money, you won't see a lot on some of these sites. They're just too common. But as you can see, there's 10 pages here. It's very important to come back here to this website and Wexler's and Konica Variety Vista and look for yourself. You can pause this video. You can do whatever you need to do, because I might go a little too fast because there's a lot to cover here. So always pause, go visit coppercoins.com or the relevant sites. So first, we've got the 1960D. This is pretty popular. This is a small date over a large date. That means it's a class 3. They have it first with the large date and then again with the small date. So you've got some of the small date here you can see, and then the large date. This one is it's a little valuable. It has a good premium to it. It's really popular. A lot of people look for it. So this one is almost in and of itself. You're going to see some with die wear. You're going to see strike doubling. People are going to get it confused. You can see there's a D over here. So that's one of the important things, is to come in and match these images. You have a 1960D. This is a double die verse. This is the 003. And it shows here, it tells you triple die shows 3 tails on the 9. So you're looking at the 9. That's the most important pup here. And then you have other die marks to look for. As you're coming down through, there's some die marks on the reverse. So each variety was struck by a certain die pair. Okay, a reverse die and obverse die, and that's why it helps to look at both to identify which one you might have. Here is a D over D. This is a repunch mint mark. I showed this one because it's really obvious. I have this one. This is of interest. It's not worth a lot of money. It's pretty common. 60D RPMs are really common. There's a bunch of them. So, you know, like I said, you can get on Copper Coins and see them. There's images of them. It's like 10 pages total. Here's another one. Now this one here is a triple D RPM. It's actually worth the most out of most of them. as you can see it here. So you have to look at it really close. Here's another little line. It was just repunched into the die 3 times. So as you can see, there's other die marks to look for. And then we come over here to the 61D, and here's another example of a bunch of different ones you can look for, 10 pages total. First here is the 61D. It's a double die verse, and you can see a little bit on the L. The L is so close to the rim. Sometimes it'll be up on the rim. Sometimes it will show some die deterioration, and people confuse it. There'll be a contact mark. So it's very important to match the images here. So as you're looking through, you're looking for the die marks that will help identify this double die on the obverse and the reverse of the coin. Then you have the 61D, and this is a double die reverse. And you have the little split serif here. You can see the doubled on the unum and also on the 1. This is a very slight double die, so you got to look really close and make sure you're not looking at contact marks or strike doubled. But just, come in here and look at the images and try to match your coin. You can hold your coin up to the screen, if that helps you. Sometimes you can use a USB microscope, and that's another thing, and it might help you put it side by side up some of these images and help you. Here's a 61D, and this is a triple D mint mark, and it's actually rotated. As you can see here, that's kind of an interesting coin. This is the interesting RPM here, and you can see there's die polish marks, and they're all over the coin. That helps you identify it. But that's going to be kind of easy to identify. You're going to see the line right inside the D. Now, when the coins are worn, it's a little more difficult to identify, but you still can. You just look at it really close and try to match the images. Sometimes they have circulated examples on here. Sometimes you might have to go to Wexler's and see a circulated example. But you'll find one and maybe help you match it, because you're going to find a lot of these probably in your change as far as when you go to the bank or in them rolls. They may not be uncirculated. Here's a 1961, and this is the Philadelphia mint. No mint mark on these is normal. It doesn't add any value to them at all. It just means it was minted at Philadelphia. Here you have a double die verse, the 03, and you can see a little bit of the extra L and the I. And you come on down through here, and you can see other areas to look for the die marks. And that's kind of interesting. A lot of people confuse them when they're on the L and the I and the Liberty. I confuse them with other things. Here's a 62D. This is another example. You've got a lot of 9 different pages of these. So you can come over here to Copper Coins and take a look at them all. We're going to cover a couple of them here, a handful. Here's a 1962D. Now it's a D over D. You can hardly see it here, but when you look at the images, look at the die marks and match everything up, you can find it. Here's a little bit what they call a cracked skull. The cracked skull itself doesn't add any value to it, but it's just kind of a die mark for this variety. Then you come over here and you have the 62 plain, and this is a double die at first. And I say plain, it's just no mint mark, means Philadelphia. This is pretty obvious. You can see it on the 6. You can see the split on the 9. And it's actually thicker. That's what you're looking for, is extra thickness here. That's the pups for this. There is a die mark to look for here and here and on the column. So when you find those and you match it up and you've got the doubled date and all that, you know that you've got that one. Then here's the 1962D. This is a double die verse, and you can see a little bit of the 2 right here. And sometimes when they're the later or earlier die stage or uncirculated examples, you'll see a little more of the 2 in here. But as you can see, here's a die mark for it, and on the reverse. So that's going to be one of them that some people are going to confuse with a contact mark. There is a contact mark here, but it's got to be raised. Here's a 62D. And this one here is a double die verse 001. As you can see, it's got a little bit of the split serif here. Sometimes you need to hold these in different directions so you can see the doubled features. And you most certainly want to match up the die marks. Make sure that's what you're looking at. Here it is on the F. So you just got to look really close on some of these. Here's another die mark to look for. Just very important to look really close to these coins and match your images up. Then you have a 63D. Double die verse. This is kind of one of my favorites in the 60s, because you can see the 3 is really misplaced and it's further down. So it's kind of hard to mistake this one. Once you find this one, it's going to be pretty obvious, especially on an uncirculated example. Just make sure you match it up and try to look for die marks and things like that. Got a lot of die polish lines on this one. And here is a 1963D, and this is RPM. And as you can see, it's got a little extra here, a little split there you can see. I wouldn't say so much as a split, you can just see both of the mint marks. And you can see where one of them is a little off to the south. And it's a triple D here on this one. Here's a 64D. And this is the double die verse. And as you can see, it's got a little bit of the L here and the B. And you're seeing a little bit of a bump. Also on the date, you can see. Just keep coming down and looking at the die marks and matching your coin and kind of take your time. Then you come over here, 1964D, and this is the double die reverse. And as you can see, you've got the doubled here on the E and the 1 and the O. And just make sure you're looking at it really close and make sure that you're not looking at strike double. That's one of the things that people look at. Sometimes these images make it look like it's flat, and it's not. You're actually looking at an extra thickness. That's one of the very important things that people have to understand about these. Next is a 64D, and this is a RPM, and it's a DD tilted. So you can see it's tilted just a little bit, and once you see that area right here, it's going to be hard to. Sometimes these Ds will have debris in them, when they're circulated, and sometimes you might have to clean them out just a little bit, maybe with a little Q-tip, a tad, or maybe a little toothpick. It just won't harm a circulated coin. And you got your other die marks to look for as well to help you match it up. But it must have the D over D, or it's not going to be the RPM. It doesn't matter whether it has all these features, all these die marks. It's of little consequence if you don't actually have the D over D on the RPM. Here you've got the 1964P. This is the double die reverse, and you actually can see it here in the images. It's pretty obvious. The direction it's in makes it look a little more obvious. You can see it on the S. It's got a little bit of a split to it. The E pluribus unum definitely has a, you can see it, and that's pretty obvious there. So you just come down through here and you just look at each one of them. Then you come over here to Wexler's. Wexler's double dies also has all these listings, and we're going to use that site to look at the 1965 double dies. They're not very valuable. We're not going to look at all of them, but I'm going to show you that there is double die verse, and you can see right here. A lot of people, like I said, they're going to mistake this for strike doubled. You can't do that. You want to look for the die marks. You really need to learn how to identify a double die. I do have videos on that. It'll help you out a whole lot. So, it's like I said, you come down through here and you can look at these listings and see the double dies. Some of them are just not very valuable. That's the reason why some of them aren't listed on some sites. So then we come back over here and we're going to look at the 1966 double die verse. This is another one of my favorites. This is a really nice one. I mean, you got the 6 and the 6. For some reason, it just looks nice doubled. You can see it. It's pretty obvious. My goal is to find one of these as well as a 1963. And here you've got more doubled areas on the coin that you can look for. You can just scroll down through the images and you can take a look. Doubled eye, there's a lot of doubled eyes in some of these doubled eyes. So you can look at the eye and there might be a little bump in front of it. Might help you a little bit. Then here's a 1967. This is a double die verse. And this one's a little more difficult to determine. It's class 5 and it's not no splits to it as far as that's concerned. It just has a little bump over the L. You got some die marks here, a little more thickness of the lettering, little things like that. It's real subtle, so you have to be careful about that because, as far as circulation can flatten out, they could flatten the actual design of a coin or actual letters and numbers, make it look like it's doubled, make it look like it's thicker when it's not. So it's very important to learn to identify that. 1967 plain. This is a double die reverse. You can see on the unum here. You can see it on the United, a little bit on the 1. It's not a real obvious one as well, but here you can see this is, where the die has been polished down a little bit, or at least I'd say refinished, because they try to remove clash marks, so it really distorts things. So you can find some coins that'll have some distortion like that, and it kind of confusion to thinking it might be doubled. Now this in here is a 1968 double die verse, and this is known for the thickness. Okay, you got a die mark here away from the D. You got a little bit in here, and you can see just a little thicker in the Liberty. It's another one that's really subtle. You can really see it in God. So you want to look at the bottom of the letters on that. Here's another 1968 D, but this one's a double die reverse, and this is a little more obvious. You can see it in the E and the T up here at the top. And you come down here and you can see it in other images. You can see it in the E pluribus. So basically what you want to do is you want to come down and you want to look for these, not contact marks. You don't want to have one contact mark that looks like this, and then come over here and the M doesn't look like it has anything on it. Because there's going to be contact mark on circulated coins, and you don't want to confuse those with split serifs on one of these coins. And then you have a 68D, and this is actual RPM, a D over D. You can see here, there's a couple of die marks to look for. On the reverse, you got some other areas to look for. So that's what you want to do when you're trying to match them exactly. And you might find a 68 RPM, since there's always more than one for most of these dates and mint marks, and it won't be this one. So that's why it's important for die marks to be identified. Then you have a 1968, and this is a double die verse. This is the Philadelphia mint. This one's real subtle. It's known for thickness and lettering, a little bit of the trust. You can actually start seeing the doubled features on it. One of the things about that is that different classes of double dies are in different directions, different areas of the coin. However, the die squeeze, the second squeeze, was positioned. That can affect what it looks like. So you just, like I said, you want to come down through here and look for the die marks. Then here's a 68S, San Francisco mint, and this is a double die verse. As you can see, it's on the N, and in the God, and in the We. And you just kind of want to come down through here and you want to match these. This is not a clog mint mark. This is the mint mark style used. It is not a double mint mark or an RPM or anything like that. That's another thing people confuse is with the S's. Here's some die marks underneath the memorial. Then another 68S. This one here is actually the S over S, and this is the RPM, and it's very important, this one here. It's hard to see it in this image. You see a little bit of the mint mark, this secondary mint mark. You see it back here as well. So you want to make sure you're looking at these really close and matching the mint marks, matching the die marks. Here's some more S's I wanted to show you for the 69. Just make sure you're coming in here and you're matching the mint marks, and you're matching the die marks. Like this one here is going to confuse some people, but you get in there really close and you want to make sure you're seeing two S's and not but just bumps and things like that. So here's the 69, and this is a very popular date and well sought after date. This is a double die verse 001 for the D, and you're looking for it here and here and right underneath in here. It's very important that you look for the die marks for these, because they're not all the same and they're not all valuable. There's only one for the 69. It's a 69S that's worth a bunch of money. Here's the 69D, and this is an RPM. As you can see, the little bump of the D here. So you have the die marks, die lines, different areas on the coin. Just make sure you're matching them and you're looking at them. Some on the reverse as well. There's a 69 Philadelphia mint. No mint mark is normal for these. You're looking at a little bit of the 9 here and here. Looking for die marks, a little die file line coming off the 1. And it's very important. Just keep strolling down through and matching. Look at each part of your coin underneath a little magnification to match the die marks. Then here's the biggie. Here's the one everyone's looking for. This is the most rare double die. One of the most rare double dies ever, especially in higher grades. This one here is 69S. It's a double die verse, and it's the 001. And guys, folks, this has to look exactly like this coin to be worth this one. This to be worth the money this one is. There's no exceptions. And it's just too obvious to mistake. Then here's the 69S with a RPM. It has the S over S, as you can see it here. So a lot of people want to mistake and say that I have the double die with the RPM. No, that's not how that works with this one. It's a lot different. You do have an RPM for the S, but it's not the double die. So anyways, thanks for watching my latest video, and hopefully it helped you identify some of these and showed you what to look for. And please subscribe to my channel and have a great day.